Good day, and I hope all is well. This presentation will cover search engine marketing and understanding Google Adwords. Google is the premier search engine in the United States and in Europe, and for the most part, is the only search engine in the world that really matters in terms of getting you results for your business. So today's presentation will cover understanding Google Adwords, the Google Display Network, and the Google Merchant Center. And we'll get started. So what is Google AdWords? Google AdWords is a cost per click advertising network. Advertisers pay for keywords, product listings, and product listings you usually find in the Google Merchant Center, in the shopping tab in the Google search engine, and display network impressions. Advertisers are billed each time a user clicks on an ad. So if you've ever seen any of those text ads you'll see when you do a Google search and it's a relevant search, Google will match the user's intent with the ad that you'll see on that, usually on the first page result. That's where most people, 80% of people who land on Google searching for something, don't go beyond page 2. So we call this the first page result. Anytime somebody clicks on that ad and they're brought to that advertiser's landing page, Google is compensated for that. AdWords represents 96% of Google's revenue. In Q3 alone, they made $27 billion gross profit. So I bring up this to let you know and to mention the magnitude of AdWords. Yes, there are less advertisers using the AdWords platform than, say, something like Facebook, which has 5 million advertisers. However, AdWords is extremely powerful because usually you're catching the user at the tail end of the funnel where they're ready to take action. And this is why so many advertisers, when they want to sell things, they use Google, because they are able to match, Google is able to match better than any other advertising platform in the world, a user's intent with the products and services that are being offered by a advertiser or a business. Another thing you also want to keep in mind with Google's revenue is Google reinvests a lot of the money they make with AdWords to improving the platforms. In my 10 years of managing AdWords campaigns, the one thing I see every year is there's advancements in the way Google tracks information and in the features that they add to the platform. So Google AdWords, from its inception in 1998, is very, very intuitive. They are improving the platform to make it simpler to use, easier to use, and to generate data so that a advertiser can take direct action based off of the data they're receiving in a clear and concise way by AdWords, by Google. So you really have 3 platforms in AdWords across 2 networks. So you have the search ads network, commonly referred to as AdWords. That's where it all started. This is Google's core product. And you have the Merchant Center, the Google Merchant Center, also known as the Google Shopping tab or Google Shopping simply. These are 2 products or 2 platforms that are part of the search network, search advertising network. And then you have the display network. The display network is strictly billboard ads. So any billboard ads that you see that are related to Google are part of the display network. Now, in the AdWords dashboard, you can manipulate both the search and the display network all in one user interface, but they are two separate things. And so we'll talk about the Google search ads. Google's core advertising is its search product, its search advertising product. Google handles 3.5 billion searches a day. So if you're trying to bring products to market, there's a good chance that your market already exists on Google. So there's no other platform or advertising platform with that handles that many users and that many requests for information per day. So Google is really in a class by itself. So each advertiser using the search product is using a bid auction system to rank their ads on the Google search network. And we'll cover that in the keyword research tool tutorial I will cover in this presentation. And we'll take a look at the Google search function in action as it relates to the Google search ads. Now let's see Google in action. I'm sure you probably use Google every single day, probably 3 or 4 times a day, probably more depending on what you want to accomplish for the day, depending on the tasks. So let's say you are in the business of selling bicycles, or rather, let's say sunglasses. First thing you do is, let's just perform a Google search to see the competition. So as you can see, there's a lot of local information. Sunglasses is a very broad term. So let's say we are looking at the sponsored results here. Oh, let's do something a little more finite, like women's sunglasses. Oops, women's sunglasses. So you can see these little boxes that say ad. These are all advertisers, companies that have paid Google to put their advertisements, which are right here in the first page results, as demonstrated here. And as you can see, the Google Shopping Network, as we had mentioned previously, is part of the search network. So if you click on shopping, you'll be taken to the Google Shopping website here, which is part of the search. Again, it's part of the search network, but this in itself is its own little platform that's part of the search network. And you'll see other advertisers here listing their products as it relates to the search query, women's sunglasses. So and we'll get into Google Shopping later, but as you can see, Google Shopping is a comparison shopping engine. So it gives the user an ability to check on or to filter through the price range they have in mind, the type of category sunglasses. They can even go unisex, the type of brand. So they can filter in all these parameters here to find what they're looking for. So you may be asking yourself, well, if you can pay to rank your ad in the search engine, in the Google search engine, depending on the keyword, the query here, how does Google determine who is first, who is last, who is on the bottom? And this is all has to do with what's called a bid auction system. Google is using a bid auction system. So the advertiser sets the price. So if the average cost per click, let's say, is $1, and this advertiser bids $1.01 or $1.25 to be the first page result, then Google ranks this ad higher than the others. Usually, typically speaking, don't fret, because typically speaking, any first page result is a good result. Usually when people go on the second page, that's when you start to see significant drop off in interest in the product. But people do click all the way through, and depending on the shopper, depending on the user, you have users that will click through all the 10 tabs here, all throughout, and in some cases until they find what they're looking for, right? So you may be asking yourself, okay, so those advertisers are paying less. Yes, they are paying less. The further you go into these tabs here. So, the heart to any good campaign is keyword research. Now, at the heart of every successful Google AdWords campaign is successful keyword research. The two are interlinked, they are correlated. So, I am just going to do a brief walkthrough of how to use the Google Keyword Planner. It's the most important and the most critical tool available in Google AdWords that will make or break your campaign. So let's take a look. Once you log into AdWords and you create an AdWords account, you want to go to Tools, and then you want to go to Keyword Planner. So the Keyword Planner really does two things for you. One, it helps you measure your competitiveness with your advertisers. So we talked about PageRank, how the order of which Google shows the ads. The higher the bid, the more, the higher the bid, the first page, the more likely you are to be on that first page result. So the Keyword Planner helps you measure your competitiveness by showing you what other advertisers are paying for that keyword. Two, it gives you ideas on other keywords related to your keywords. So if you're like everybody else who starts off advertising with AdWords and you just start off your keyword planning and your research, more than likely you have maybe 2 or 3 keywords, 4, maybe max 5 in your head that you know are specific to the product category or the services category. The Keyword Planner is excellent at giving you ideas related to those keywords so you can help fill in the blanks. It is one of the most fascinating tools in search engine marketing that is 100% free to use. So we'll start. So we did our sunglasses example, women's sunglasses, for example. So the first thing we want to do is we want to type in women's sunglasses. Okay. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do spell check. Google will get it. Put in your landing page. So in this case specifically, we could use a landing page like this to get ideas. Google is going to scan the website, and this is a fashion accessory, sunglasses are. So if you want to, you can further categorize the can further you can put whatever you want here. For the sake of time, we'll just type in sunglasses, but it will give you an option to narrow down the category. So if you're targeting the United States, this is where you would put in those parameters. The languages, we want to say English, just for the sake of this walkthrough. Save that. We want to do Google and Google Search Partners. So we'll explain what search partners mean when we get to the display network. Date range, this is good. Show average monthly searches for the last 12 months to get a really good idea. Keyword filters, you don't need to put any of these parameters in when you first start out. You can leave keyword options blank too if you're just starting out. That's more of a that's a separate, let's say, tutorial, because there are some options you can use here to make your really hone in on. If you have a super targeted audience that you're trying to look for, you can play around with the keyword options and then keywords to include. You can also leave this blank. So we'll get ideas. Now, as you can see, Google is combing through your website, and we put sunglasses as the category and women's sunglasses, product or service. So as you can see, it took everything we did in the keyword planner to produce these results here. So this is for 1 year. And as you can see, this is a competitive niche. So just the keyword sunglasses for women is at $2.18 per suggested bid. It doesn't mean that Google will charge you $2.18 per click. This is what this means per click, is what the average, the top listing, the top advertiser is paying to rank high for this specific keyword, sunglasses for women. So this is really important here. The average monthly service searches, it's 823,000 searches. That's really good. So you know that there's a strong demand for sunglasses for women. So it is highly competitive. And in my view, from my experience, $2.18 for this, depending on the way you work out your margins, this is actually pretty good. So again, this doesn't mean Google will charge you $2.18 per click, but on average, to get top listing, this is typically what the average advertiser is paying. So over the course of a year. So this changes every day. It could be $1 one day, it could be $1.50 the next. So you would really know what you're actually being charged per click for this specific keyword in your AdWords dashboard. But Google is basically saying expect to pay around this. From my experience, again, 9 times out of 10, it's usually lower than what the suggested bid is. And as you can see, Google also listed off keyword ideas. So you would have to pick and choose which ones you want to create a plan. Okay. So we have sunglasses online, aviator sunglasses, lady sunglasses. Now you have to think, this is more relevant to the original keyword search term. So sunglasses for women. So we'll add that to the plan. Best sunglasses for women. So this seems relevant. You can add that. Polarized sunglasses for women. For this particular website that we just searched, I didn't see any polarized sunglasses for women. So I'll leave that blank. Designer sunglasses. Yeah, so for this particular website, there are designer shades, chic, affordable designer shades. Round glasses, we can leave that out. Designer sunglasses for women. I believe we already put that there, but cat eye sunglasses. This is a keyword specific to this website, and because this website does sell cat eye style sunglasses, so we'll click that. And then we'll leave it for now, just for the sake of this demonstration. So as you can see, Google is using these 4 keywords here. This is just an example here, but we'll close this, and you'll see that if your bid range, let's say your bid range is going to be, let's say, between $1, the suggested bid, let's say, you want it to be, let's say, $1 to, let's say, $2 per click. Google is telling you that for $800 or so per month, you are going to get between 886 clicks to 1,430 clicks, okay? And it's going to cost you between $800 and $2,000, okay, depending on your bid range. Again, 9 times out of 10, this cost is usually lower. This is just a forecast. So A good advertiser, Google advertiser, is spending a lot of their time in the keyword planner so they can configure their budgets and so they can get an idea of what they should bring to the table in terms of their costs and their bids. So you can go a lot lower than this. Okay, so competitiveness is important when you're advertising as a in search engine marketing. So the lower you go, unfortunately, the less clicks you will get. But one thing that is for sure, you are always going to get qualified traffic. So yes, we're looking at the cost of advertising, but we're also looking at a user who is more likely to purchase from you. So you have to think, if the max I'm going to spend with my bid range that we did, $1 to $2, is going to be $2,000 to get 1,000 clicks, a good portion, a great huge portion of those clicks are more than likely to convert because of how relevant the ad is to the intent of the user. And this is why Google is the best marketing platform right now in existence. So you're not dealing with unqualified traffic. You're dealing with users who are more likely to take an action. So this is how the keyword tool works and how the Google search function as it relates to ads works together. So now that we know what we need to know about Google search ads and Google search ads in action, keyword planner, we're going to talk about Google Shopping. Google Shopping, like we said before, is part of the search ads network, as we briefly covered. So basically, Google Shopping is a comparison shopping engine. As you saw when we went through the filtering process, comparison shopping engine is where users can compare one product with another. That's basically all it is. So they can filter through price, they can filter through wait to ship times, they can filter through so many different parameters, also depending on the product. So for apparel and accessories, the filter options may be different than from, let's say, a bicycle or a bicycle helmet. Okay. So the Google Shopping engine was made specifically for retailers, retail advertisers. So shop owners, people who sell physical merchandise like products. You won't see any services related type of advertising in the shopping network. It's specifically for retailers. It's available in 23 countries, so you can target 23 countries who have the the Google Shopping feature in the Google search index. And you also um, have an ability to target more than one particular region. So if you just wanted to show your ads in a specific location, your shopping ads in a specific location, you can also do that in addition to 23 countries. So the Google Shopping or Google Merchant is the #1 comparison shopping engine in the world. So you have many, many players in the game. You have Shopzilla, you have Nextag, you have um, the Bing Shopping ads platform. You have a lot of different comparison shopping engines out there. eBay is a giant comparison shopping engine, but they like to call themselves a auction house, which is true. They are a digital auction house, but you can do a lot of the things you can do in eBay in a comparison shopping engine, except for bid on the products. But that's essentially what it is. So let's take a look at Google Shopping in action. So here we are with a example here of Google Shopping in action. So let's say we're looking for a bicycle helmet. Now, as you can see from just this query, the user intent is that somebody is looking for a new bicycle helmet. So what does Google do? Google's algorithm will know this and they'll show ads based off of this query here, relevant ads to this query. So if we click on the shopping tab, which most users know how to do by now, they're either searching with this tab open or they're just going to Google to search and they're clicking on whatever they see, usually the first page result. You're going to be brought here. So as you can see with a traditional comparison shopping engine, the user is going to be given options from location to price to specific category. Are they looking for motorcycle helmets? Are they looking for bicycle helmets? You have a wide range of things that people are looking for, that people can use to filter out the specific product they're looking for. Okay, so now that we're here, now that we see these particular products here, when somebody clicks on this, Google is going to show them the title of the product, the options for the product, and also the price of the product, the tax-related information, and the shipping cost of the item. So the user is going to be looking at all of this to make an informed decision. They'll also show the other users here. So Google is gaining all of this information from the product feed that a merchant uploads through the Google Merchant Center. We'll take a look at the Google Merchant Center as well. So Google is going to pull the product feed from the Merchant Center and match the user's search query with the title of the product. So search query, in this case, bicycle helmet, Google is going to match the keyword helmet or any part of this query with the product title so that it's relevant. A lot of the times the user doesn't even know this is an ad. They're just looking for a bicycle helmet. They don't realize this is an ad because Google is really good at blending this whole keyword with the relevancy of the item. So this is why it's important to make sure that your product titles match the search query, at least one of the keywords. So if this is a gyro section helmet and the keyword is bicycle helmet, you have to make sure that helmet is at least in the product title when you upload your feed. And again, we'll take a look at the Google Merchant Center. Now, this is one comparison shopping engine. When somebody in retail tells you they want to bring their product to market, they're usually telling you they want to bring their products to one of these comparison shopping engines, and then obviously Amazon. This presentation won't cover Amazon, but these are the different comparison shopping engines out there that are standalone services. They're not like a search engine, but they're standalone services where people are trying to find products from merchants like yourself. And so they'll type in same query, bicycle helmet. This is NextTag, which is one of the biggest comparison shopping engines in existence. Not bigger than Google, but this is a market. This is a engine, a comparison shopping engine, just like Google, that works in the same way. So as you can see, these are items that people can filter through to get the particular item they're looking for. So in addition to Google, you always want to make sure, if the budget allows, that you're exploring one of these comparison shopping engines. You also have Shopzilla. Helmut. I put helmut. It's helmet. Okay, you get my point. As you can see, Shopzilla is another comparison shopping engine, and this is Google's Google Shopping competitor. They also get millions of page views a month. They also have an app, and then you also have Price Grabber. Does the same thing. And then the second biggest comparison shopping engine right after Google is Bing Shopping. And as you can see, they all work the same way. Be asking yourself, well, where does Google get this information? How do they get images, the price, the title to put in their Google Shopping comparison engine? Well, Google is getting this information from you, the merchant, from the Merchant Center. So let's go to merchants.google.com and see for ourselves. So once you create a Google Merchant account, you become a part of the Google shopping platform, essentially. Google is going to get information from this Google Merchant Center to make eligible, okay, for the Google search engine. So when people type in bicycle helmet, Google will make your product feed eligible for impressions and for clicks, okay? So what does that mean? What is a product feed? So when you go here and you go to products, you'll see that for this account in particular, that they have products that were submitted to Google. So the product feed is uploaded through the feed tab here in the products. So we go here, you can add a feed. And as you can see, if you continue, there are 4 ways you can add a feed. You can do it through Google Sheets. And if you wanted to know more about that, all you'd have to do is learn more. You can do a scheduled fetch. So if you give Google FTP access to your website, you give them the link, they'll just automatically upload the feed once a day, or however much you want them to upload the feed, they'll do that. Or you can upload the feed via a file that you upload yourself manually every day. That's not as efficient to do, because that is time you can be spending doing something else, using a file from your computer in a type of CSV format, which is comma separated values. So Google can also get the feed attributes from a file you upload from your computer, and also a content API. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. And all that means is 2 pieces of software communicating with one another. So let's say you have a Shopify store and a Google Merchant account here. It's just connecting your product feed between those 2 pieces of software is a seamless route that gives Google permission to get the necessary feed attributes to put in the Google Shopping engine. Let's take a look at some other features here. So tax information, again, you may have wondered, okay, well, how is Google getting the tax information? So as you can see, this 172 tax and 795 shipping, this is what Google is getting this information from, the tax settings that you tell it to put here. You can also divvy up your tax categories if you have a really complicated feed. If you can imagine a department store like Walmart with thousands and thousands of items, they may need to set up different tax categories. If you have not that many products, then you don't have anything to worry about. And this is also where you would put in your shipping parameters and your delivery zones. The shopping ads configuration, for now, you don't need to worry about that. That's a whole separate tutorial, but that is an advanced feature. And then also you have your business information, which will be here, your products and opportunities. Every now and then, if you have an active campaign going on, Google will show you product opportunities to help you better manage those campaigns, or if you're missing out on impressions, here's why. So this is just something, and this is manipulated. This is just a place where you can examine the feed, upload the feed, and communicate with Google Shopping. But if you connect an AdWords account, you can also see recommendations here based off of the information that the clicks that are coming in from the feed. So also in the product tab, you also have product suggestions. If you're trying to do research and you're trying to see click-throughs of what the top selling product is in Google by category. You can also do that here. So this changes all the time. So you can take a look, for instance, for sunglasses. Google is telling you that these are the top selling types of sunglasses on the Google Shopping site. So this is really helpful if you're trying to sell items that are around here, and it also gives you an idea of what these items are selling for. And the last time we did the keyword research, we saw typically what these people are paying per bid. So for instance, if you look at these style Ray-Ban glasses, we know that on average, the cost per click, according to Google, over the course of a year was somewhere around $2, we said. So look, we didn't put in Ray-Ban specifically, so that might not apply. But typically, on average, you're seeing cost per clicks around that range for sunglasses in general, or maybe like let's take a look at these. These are designer shades, obviously, so they might not be specific. So we shouldn't use those as examples, but that's what people are typically, these advertisers are typically paying per click, around the $2 range. Uh, we used a very general term. We used women's sunglasses, but this is a really great tool to show you what's selling on Google Shopping. The top 50 ads that are showing. Actually, it will show you more rows if you keep scrolling down. So if you're doing some product research, top 100 products, it looks like here. So if you're doing product research and you want to know what sells, by all means, this is a really, really great tool. If there are issues with your feed, this is the feed diagnostic machine, the feed diagnostic tab, sorry. And it will show you also your products, your product titles, and how your products will appear on Google. Okay, it'll tell you, yes, there's a shopping campaign that will be active. The status of this is active for a shopping campaign, sorry. That's also active for a dynamic remarketing campaign. This right here is, again, another whole separate tutorial of its own, but it'll also tell you when the technical details of the product, when it expires, 28 days, and that's when Google will remove it from the system, unless you, of course, upload another feed. So if you set your feed upload to daily, you won't ever have to worry about this expiring. So that's all the relevant tabs for the Google Merchant Center. Again, the Google Merchant Center, all you see represented in Google Shopping is coming from information Google is gathering from the Google Merchant Center. And so let's talk about the Google Display Network now. The Google Display Network places advertisements on a large network of Google partner sites. And we'll talk about what a Google partner site is shortly. It covers mobile, native, and Gmail ads. So if you have Gmail ads and you see, if you have Gmail and you see ads in your Gmail, that's part of the display network. So billboard ads, or what is commonly referred to as banner ads. If you're ever on a website and you see these, banner ads in between the articles or on the right-hand side of the articles, and it's a website like that's apart from a social media site like Facebook, that's more than likely a ad that's on the Google Display Network. So that person who is showing that website that is showing that ad is a Google partner. Display Network also handles all of Google's remarketing. So all the remarketing that's done with Google Shopping or on the search ads platform, all the remarketing is handled by the Display Network. So usually with remarketing, if it's for the Google Shopping, you're going to see possibly if that advertiser has dynamic product ads set up, you're going to see that particular item that the customer or that the user clicked on. Specific to like the dress size they were looking at, the color. It's a dynamic form of remarketing, so that's on the Display Network. Or if you just arrived on the landing page of a website and that website is pixeled with a Google Display Network remarketing tag, then that is also on the Display Network as well. So let's take a look at the Display Network in action. In order to understand the display network, we must first understand AdSense. Okay, so Google, we talked about Google having partners. So anybody basically with a website that gets good amount of traffic can become a partner of Google through the AdSense program. So I actually happened to, back in the day, have an AdSense account, and uh, we will go through this account here, and I'll show you how people are seeing ads, how users are seeing ads on Google. So if we go here and we take a look at these performance reports, we'll do all time. As you can see, Google compensated me $24,000 for providing 13 million page views, over 71 million impressions, 68,000 clicks, and all this, the rest of this is RPM, all this stuff is just a whole nother tutorial. Okay, but this is what Google paid me out over the course of a few years to show ads for the display network. So let's expand further on what that means. So let's take a high traffic website like the New York Post. So let's say I visit a article, or even on the front page here, I can already see what's a display network ad. So let's take a look at this. If you click on this little ad choices shark icon here, you'll get all the information you need to know about this being a Google display ad. So that's how Google administers ads on the display network. So the New York Post will make an ad unit. We'll use this as an example. So this is AdSense. They'll make an ad unit. So let's say we'll do a text and display ad, and they can make these ads any way they like. So let's say this is going to, just for demonstration purposes, Google will, once you save this ad, they will give you code for this ad that you can paste on your website. So the New York Post actually happens to be using WordPress. So if you have a WordPress website, you can get a plugin that will make it easier to paste this code to show up in different sections of the website. So Google has millions. This is just one account, and this is another account. But Google has millions and millions of partner websites in the display network that show ads for them. So anytime somebody clicks on this, Google is compensated, and the rest of the money for whatever, we'll talk about the display network, how that is measured, and how cost per click is measured in the display network a little bit later in this presentation. But that's how Google makes money, and that's how the advertiser gets their ad shown. So usually these ads are remarketing ads. So if you've already been on the user's website, more chances not you're being remarketed. As you can see, I have the Google tag installed on the browser. You can see that there's a remarketing tag for the New York Post. So they show remarketing ads. So they know exactly how to make, they know exactly what ads to show to users who arrive on their page. So that's how the display network works in a nutshell. Simple enough. So you might be wondering, okay, well, how does Google know what to charge somebody who clicks on a display ad? Well, we talked about the keyword research tool for the search network. The display network also has a display planner. So we'll go to Home, or on the Home tab, we'll go to Tools, and we'll go to Display Planner. Now, the display planner is different from the search network planner, keywords planner. So we'll get started. I'll show you what I mean here. we'll go women's sunglasses. Okay, now we'll type in the landing page, the general landing page. Keep in mind that this can be any page on your website, but for the sake of this presentation, we'll use just the general landing page URL, the main landing page. And we can set our campaign targeting parameters here, okay? And all ad formats, text, image, HTML5. HTML5 is a hypertext mockup language. So basically it's code that you find common with all websites today, front pages of most websites, or most websites today have HTML in them, and HTML5 allows you to animate your ads. So if you ever see ad banners that are animated, it's an HTML5 animation. Okay, and then we also have the bidding types. We can leave this alone. So we can get placement ideas. Placement ideas with the display planner just means Google has millions of partners, like we said. So if you're selling something like that's highly niched, like dog choke collars or something, and you want your ads to be shown on a specific website, if that specific website is a Google partner, then by all means, Google will consider placing the ad on that website if there are no restrictions with the Google partner. Okay, so but for now we'll just get ad group ideas. Okay, so this didn't pull up anything. Let's just do women's. Let's type it in again. Women's sunglasses. All right, let's see what this one does. Sometimes you might have to play around with this. So as you can see, your customers are interested in women's sunglasses, right? So I should have put an A there, but I'm pretty sure Google will bring it up anyways, and they did. So that should have been like woman, WOMAN instead of E. So as you can see, this is the total network inventory. So Google is saying that there are between 1 billion and 5 billion cookies placed across our partners for this specific category. Users we know are interested in this. So these users are visiting websites, they're visiting blogs, they're visiting apps related to this specific interest level. Okay, so this is highly accurate information because this is coming from their own network. So we said when we created the ad in Adsense, right, which is just to show you what a Google partner will have to do, Google is able to track all of the analytics from that particular ad, how many times it's impressed. So meaning how many times it's shown and how many times people see it. So this is over the course of a week. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of information. That's a lot of cookies, and that's a lot of impressions. So you will definitely find your target market, in other words. Now, as you can go here, as you see here, you have the ad group ideas. So these are all ad groups. So if you add this here, this is Google is saying that the sunglasses topic, okay, because remember, these are websites. The sunglasses topic is generating between 1 and 5 billion impressions per week, which is extremely quite significant. So you can add the entire ad group there, like we did with the keyword planner. And it'll also show you keywords that will trigger the ads in this section here. Okay, so if you look through one of these ads, ad groups, you can say, okay, well, I want to use clothing, fashion, women, and this is going to trigger my ad because women are going to be, this is my target market, and women who are searching for this might also be looking for accessories like sunglasses, if that's what you're selling. So you can do it by keyword. You can do your ad groups by keywords, or you can do it by interest. This is sort of like a pre-made template that Google is suggesting you use to create the display network ads, okay, when you're targeting, because they need to know who to show the ad to. So you can do it by interests. So just like if you're familiar with Facebook affinity audiences, this is Google's version of affinity audiences, but obviously Google had this long ago, way before Facebook, but so Facebook definitely copied that. But you can see, as you see here, apparel and accessories affinity group. You can go by topic. So if you add the topic there, and sunglasses is a topic, and then also placements. If you want to put in an ad group with this specific site channels, you see you click on these site channels. eCreator is a type of blog or website that this audience typically visits, searching for those things, so on and so on and so forth. So you would just choose one. You could choose all ad groups and weed it out yourself, or you can just go by keywords, interests, topics, and placements. So the display planner, pretty self-explanatory. Let's just choose something like this. Let's choose, for the sake of this demonstration. So on a weekly basis, if your max bid is, let's say, $1, I always manage all the accounts I manage. I start off with $1 until I get data for competitiveness to see where I'm at. Google is saying that if you do $1 per click and you're going to get 44,000 clicks in 1 month for $43,000. Obviously, not everybody has $43,000 when you're starting out. So you can also target a little bit further, set the criteria a little bit narrower. So for $300 with that criteria, with that audience, remember pre-made audience that Google is saying here, for $300, you're going to get between 500 and, actually daily budget is not 300, sorry. So we'll go, let's do something like $10. You're going to get 25 to 30 thousand impressions, 73 clicks, 20 to 25,000 cookies, and it's going to cost you $70 with a daily budget. So this is weekly. Obviously, if we want to go monthly, these figures will change. So $300 a month will get you, if you do the math, so on and so forth. Yeah. So average cost per click, 96 cents. So you're going to, there's definitely a whole training that can be done on display ads and the display ad tool planner, and also, the display ad planner and display marketing. But this is just a walkthrough to show you what you're dealing with, the advanced level of analytics right in the AdWords interface. So this is why Google can't be beat, really, in terms of advertising. So this is section 2, putting it all together. It's also the final section. We'll go through setting up a live Google campaign. Before you set up any Google campaign, you must do what I call a pre-flight check. You want to make sure that you have landing page readiness. Well, what does that mean? Make sure that the links on your website are working. Make sure that you have your cookie set up correctly, and that your cookie, if you have a remarketing tag or any kind of tag that's tracking user behavior analytics, make sure all of these things are firing. Make sure your website is mobile responsive. Something like 48% of online transactions that are happening, and this is through lead generation, or if you're a merchant and you're accepting goods, you always want to make sure that your website looks good on a mobile device. There are many ways to do that. Simply just go on your website using your mobile device, and that will tell you if your website is mobile responsive. A lot of the themes and templates, and most, if not all, web developers understand the mobile first approach, especially in today's world. So in today's Web 2.0 world, so just always double cross, always make sure that you can perform a transaction over your phone. If you have a shopping cart like Shopify, you can put it in sandbox mode and do a test transaction to make sure that it goes well on your mobile device and also on your desktop. Privacy policy. So Google, back in the day, if you just paid Google X amount of money, you would get X amount of clicks going to any kind of landing page. Well, today things are different. Google is vetting advertisers. It may not look like it on the surface. They're approving ads very quickly, but someone is going on the website to check it to make sure that you have things in place like a privacy policy. I know this is especially true if you're an e-merchant and you're collecting transactions over the internet. A human goes in to look at the website. If it's a landing page, they have a bot that will go do it because they don't have the time to do it. But if you're collecting money, it's almost you almost it's a prerequisite to have a privacy policy, or they'll just decline the ad. So make sure you always have a privacy policy in place that's visible on the footer of the page where people can actually go in and research what the privacy policy is. That's required if you're putting pixelizing websites with things like cookies and behavioral targeting scripts. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have a privacy policy on place, and you also want to make sure that before you even set up any ad that you have done the research, you've done the keyword research, you've done your competitive research, you have examined your competitors, been on their landing pages, adjusted your landing page to make sure that you are, at least your price is competitive. If you're offering a service, if your service price is competitive, if you're offering a product, your product is competitive. People, especially if you're having your product catalog on a network, like on a platform like Google Shopping, you want to make sure that your price isn't too high where people are not going to click through on it. Or if people do, where you're not going to be penalized for ad relevancy because your bid, your price is not competitive enough. Google has ways of penalizing ads, so I won't get into all of that now, but just make sure you're always doing your research. And to expand on the research point, make sure you're doing your keyword research as well. So we went over how to do that. We also kind of went over a budget, but make sure you know what your budget is. So if your budget is $300 a month, know what you're gonna get for that. Have these parameters set before you begin to create your campaign. So one thing you can use is Google Trends. You can Google Trends. So if you want to do, if you want to see the demand of something, you can always find it out using Google Trends, and we'll go over that really quickly. So to really gauge an idea of how well something is selling, or if you want to really see the search volume for a specific keyword, just go to Google Trends. As you can see, you can just type it in the search engine, or you can go to trends.google. Now, what Google Trends does is it visualizes data from Google, the Google search engine. People are searching for all kinds of things. So Google Trends will give you an idea of the search volume for a particular keyword. So let's just do something like this: sunglasses for woman. A generic search term like this, and you'll see that there is a lot of demand for this type of search volume. So Google gives, so you might be asking, well, what does 100 mean? And Google explains it here, how they generate the score. So the numbers represent search interest relative to the highest point on the chart for the given region and time. A value of 100 is peak popularity for the term. A value of 50 means that the term is half as popular. Likewise, a score of 0 means the term was less than 1% as popular. So as you can see, as popular as the peak. So as you can see, you know, this is a great keyword to search for, but you can also see that between these months is when you're going to see, just based off of the information from last year, where this search terms are going to be popular, more popular, because obviously sunglasses, it's the spring, summertime, people, want to provide, the protection, UV protection from the sun. So as you can see, this is going to give you an idea of when to increase your budget, decrease your budget, see how competitive the space is. But like I said, what you find in Google AdWords obviously is always going to be more accurate, because Google knows who's searching for those terms and who's clicking on those terms, and who's actually buying uh, uh, based off of those keywords. So you're good there. I'm just saying, if you're like maybe selling drones or something, you always want to check to see how popular that is, okay, with the Google Trends. So we're going to go over setting up a Google search campaign. We're going to actually do a live campaign using a dummy account. Now, the first thing you want to do whenever you set up any Google campaign, even if it's a Google display campaign or any Google campaign, any Google AdWords campaign, is you want to identify the objective of the campaign. Sounds simple enough, but a lot of the times people, they advertise, and this is what I find from being in the industry for as long as I have been, a decade plus, is people don't know what they really want from the campaign. They know that they should have a campaign, but they don't identify the objective. So in this case, let's say you're selling sunglasses. You want to make sure you have an objective clear. Your objective is clear. You want to get clicks that lead to sales. Write that down. Keywords. You want to, again, make sure you're doing your keywords research and that you are competitive in terms of your bid with your with your competitors, so that you don't get shown on page 4 when you can get shown on page 1. So writing search ads. Okay, so we're going to talk about what it means to steal like an artist, and obviously finally publishing the campaign. So let's get started. Whenever you set up a Google campaign, in this case, we're setting up a search campaign, and you sign into Google, usually you'll end up, depending on where you last left off, Google will sometimes put you in the tab you were last left off, but usually you're brought to the Home tab. You just want to scoot over to the Campaigns tab, and you want to click on the Campaign button. Now, Google is going to ask you where you would like to place your ad. As you can see, we have the many different networks here, and we're going to choose search network only because this is a search campaign. And so we are now at the campaign level, and we're just going to call this, whatever you want to call it, search sunglasses. Let's just say that. And so search network only. Now you're presented with options here. So standard is keyword targeted text ads showing on Google search results. All features, all the features and options available for the search network. So you want to just make sure you do standard, because we're only doing search network only. So this is specific to Google only. Now, another thing you have with search is the search network only, and this is something you should know, includes Google and Google search partners. So remember we talked about what partners, well, what does it mean? What does a Google search partner mean? So Google has partner websites like we talked about with the display network, but they also have partners for search. So who they are, I don't know. It could be Bing, it could be Yahoo, but Google rather doesn't doesn't really get into who those partners are, but it could be other search engines. So it's just a way for Google to extend their already far reach. So if you already have an existing campaign, you can load the settings from the campaign. So that includes your keywords, your targeting, your geographic targeting, so on and so forth. And then as you can see, Google has the Google Search Network, including the partners, and this explains what a partner is, like I had just explained it. Okay. Ads will show on eligible devices by default. So by default, you can just leave that. Now here comes locational targeting. Uh, if you're in the United States, you can target the United States. If you want to target United States and Canada, you can target the United States and Canada. If you want to target all countries and territories, you can do that as well. Everybody within the Google network. So we're just going to do United States, or you can choose. I have a client that has Massachusetts only. They own a dog walking business, and all of their targeting is confined to their area. So in Massachusetts, a specific county in Massachusetts. So you can also, they live in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. So you can also target really, really more precisely with this Let Me Choose option. We'll keep it on the United States just to make things simpler. English, if you are in any one of these languages that are part of the Google network, you can choose any one of these languages. I always choose English because the product that I sell is for the North American, the American market, right? So in this case, sunglasses. So your bid strategy. Choose how do you like to set bids for your ads. To be frank, you could use any of these parameters here. Target search page location, target by cost per action, target on return on ad spend. These are all things that are preset to Google's algorithm made specific for these actions here. So I always leave it on maximize conversions. Oh, I'm sorry, manual CPC. I always leave it on manual CPC because I think that's important. You want to make sure you have full control. You don't want to make sure Google is, again, some people, I'm not going to get into strategy here, but people have different strategies for different campaigns, for different things they're trying to accomplish. So if you hit maximize clicks, usually what happens is Google is going to present your ad to the highest bidder. They're going to present the ad as the highest ad, your account as the highest bidder. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they're going to get you and maximize your clicks to the extreme. So it's a way you can exhaust your budget pretty quickly, so but you're going to get a lot of clicks out of that. So there you have it there. Now, for my default bid, I am always going to choose $1. And the reason why I'm going to choose $1 is because in my research, we found out that for search for sunglasses, actually it was $2, right? So $2. We found out when we did our keyword research for sunglasses that for sunglasses for women, the default bid, the competitive bid was somewhere in this area. So you can start there. You can start at $1, but just to make sure you're competitive, you want to set it there. It doesn't mean you'll pay $2. It just means that you will at least be competitive and be shown on the first page result. So you could actually, depending on what the auction does that day, remember we talked about Google being a bid auction system. So you could end up paying $1.25 or $1 or 96 cents. It really does matter. As long as you're the highest bidder, Google will show your ad first, and they'll charge you accordingly to what the auction does that day. So we'll leave that there. Now your budget per day, it can be anywhere. If it's 300 a month, you want to put something like $10 a day. Um, so we'll leave it there. This can be whatever your budget is. So in your keyword research, you can get an idea of what you're going to get in terms of clicks per day with your budget. Now, ad extensions. You can extend your ads. Ad extensions are basically things you want to extend with your ads. So it could be buttons, like a call button if you have a service. Like if you're a plumber or an electrician and you want your phone number to be listed in the ads, you can extend it with one of these features here, the call feature. Maps, if you're a location like a restaurant, you can extend it again with one of these location features. Links, if you have specific pages you want people to go to, you can extend it with links and more. So for now, just for the sake of time, we won't do that, but this is how you would do that. So it's important. Ad extensions are important because not only does Google try to make it look like a native text ad, a native text search query that people would see on the site, like a snippet. Whenever you search something on Google, you'll see like a snippet of the keyword term, the actual link of the site, and then a snippet of the describing what's on the site. Like they call that the meta description. So when you try to go native and look like you're not an ad, usually that helps. And Google's right. You can get a higher click-through rate by extending your ads. But for now, like I said, this is just a general walkthrough. We're gonna leave that alone. Okay, so this is the part where Google is gonna help you with ad group ideas. So we'll call this ad group. First, we'll name this ad group something. We have to name it something. So we'll just say cat sunglasses or something. Okay. And you'll just put in your keywords here. Now, what Google is doing is they are, if I spelt that right, correct, right? So, Google, what they do is they'll try and get you ad group ideas. Sometimes, like this works, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it works. But if they don't have any, they'll tell you. So, you're going to have to get your own ad group ideas. So, we're going to put in keywords, cat. Remember, this is all just a walkthrough. I haven't done the research. So, cat yet. So as you can see, okay, so now the recommendations are coming. So you want to put in something like this, and just go through the keywords. These are keyword recommendations, and I suggest you use, in addition to your own, these keyword recommendations. Don't use more than 20, just so you can keep track of everything. It's easier to organize in terms of your workflow. But you just want to go through this, comb through it. Cat eye sunglasses, black cat eye sunglasses. Do I have enough? Do I have black cat eye sunglasses on my website? Just go through it, because a lot of the times some of these keywords can get pretty big, but this is what you want to do. Whenever you want to get Google suggestions, again, bring your own suggestions, bring your own keywords from the research you do in the keyword planner, but also take Google suggestions, because this is fresh, up-to-date information coming from the Google API, in this case, the search. So the Google is pulling this information from recent searches. So, and they say it again, yeah, don't start with 10 to 20 keywords. Don't go more than that. Okay. And if you have a new ad group within the cat sunglasses ad group, it's similar to Facebook. You just create a new one. We won't do that for the sake of time. We'll continue to ads. And so here, this is where the term stealing like an artist comes into play. Google gives you a template here on how to create these ads. So what you want to do always is you want to go and you want to spy on your competition. So sunglasses for women, right? as you can see, this is the ad you probably want to get inspiration from. High quality and affordable. Stay in vogue all season long with these hot shades. Women's sunglasses, free shipping and returns, frosted red. Okay, so this is probably the one more relevant to you. So I'm not saying you steal this, don't steal this, but stealing like an artist is using the inspiration for creating the ads. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to put in the final URL. The final URL is whatever the landing page is for that particular product. So we just want to make sure we put Youthly Labs. Let's just say hypothetically speaking. Let's make up something cat sunglasses or something. Okay, and then the headline. Okay, so you're saying, where do I get my headline? Well, let's see where their headline looks like. So it says women's sunglasses. So what did they do? To make this look blend in with Google, like it's a normal search query, most people don't look to see, most users don't look to see if it's an ad anyways. They're just looking for whatever. They're looking for the keyword, women's sunglasses. So in this case, as you can see, there's a woman and sunglasses there. So they used the keyword, actually, women, I'm a bad speller. Women sunglasses, okay? So as you can see, they have the keywords as part of the title. So we'll put, since this is cat sunglasses, let's make this a more relevant term. So cat sunglasses. Okay, so let's see if, okay, so there's no ads for that, but let's go back to women's sunglasses then. So we'll just go women. Okay, so let's use Amazon's example. Okay, so we'll go shop women's sunglasses. Then we'll make that part of the headline. So shop women's you might want to go Youthly Lab. Or not copying this. You don't want to copy all of this, but you just want to do something that's similar until you master the art of copywriting. So it could be something buy women's sunglasses. So, you might want to take all of this and say, let's see, list off the benefits of 20% off. Okay. So as you can see here with the copywriting, in terms of copyright, typically what you want is the keyword should be somewhere here in the title. So should be buy woman's cat sunglasses, but it doesn't allow because of the characters, too many characters. So we'll go, let's see, shop woman's cat sunglasses. Okay. Now, as you can see, when a person enters the keyword women's cat sunglasses, let's say specifically, it's going to be relevant. The title of the keyword is going to be relevant to um, the title of your ad has to be relevant to the keywords. Okay, so that way you're not wasting anybody's time, and you're going to increase your click-throughs because it's a relevant term. And Google covers all of this in writing a great text ad. So they give you some idea based off of just the data they compile. So, and you want to offer in your USP, your unique sale proposition. Okay, so now that you have your headline out of the way and it includes your keyword, now you want to offer a benefit. So some people put here fast shipping with coupon code, or fast shipping through a 2-day shipping, or instant shipping, or ship internationally, whatever your benefit is. If you can fit 2 here, great. If you can't, that's fine. So this right here is sort of a just a display URL. It doesn't go to anything. So, but it makes the ad, it gives sort of like volume to the ad. So as you can see, this is mimicking Google's search listing, native search listing template. Okay, so if you just go Youthly Labs and then say like special, it can be whatever you want. Special 20, or deal, or something like that. Or 20% off deal, 20% off deal, something like that. It's a display URL. It actually doesn't go anywhere. This is your final URL. And then you can further speak on your unique sale proposition. So this was one benefit, that you have a coupon code of 20% off with that coupon code. So you can also go, fast shipping, and then you can put like a little dot there or something, or fast shipping, whatever your unique sale proposition, whatever your benefit is. So fast shipping, affordable, or let's say affordable selections. You can expand on this as you see where I'm going with all of this. So you have 41 characters to do that. Probably best to use some sort of as you can see here, affordable selections. You can also use, I am a big believer in proper punctuation. So whatever benefits, continue to list off benefits of what you're offering. This is where it all goes. Okay. So if you want to create more ad groups, if you want to create this ad to copy over to other ad groups, I always suggest to anyone with Google that you should have at least 5 ad groups with one campaign. All you have to do is hit this button, and it will copy over all the copy from here to those other campaigns. So you should test 2 versions of copy with two versions of copy with one campaign and 5 ad groups. So make sure you have a variant of this cat sunglasses ad saying a different thing, and apply it to all the 5 ad groups. The same with your other variant. So you have an A and you have a B. I hope that makes sense to you. And so now you want to create the ad. So now that you have, it's going to show you the ads here. Okay. You can copy it here as well to other ad groups. So if you wanted to make a 4th ad group, you can just go here. It'll copy this here, copy it here. I always tell people 5, always have 5. Okay, so and make sure you're testing different versions of copy with 5 ad groups. Okay, so I'm just gonna delete this. Your ad groups would have already been created. So at this step, so this was just putting it in the cat eye sunglasses ad group. So that wasn't doing anything, but like I said, that's how you would do it. So you always want to review your campaign. Now, with your budget, Google is going to pull this information. It's going to say expect 7 to 8 clicks with a budget of $10, 9 to 10 per cost. You know, it's not going to do much, but that's what Google is estimating based off of these keywords. So this is a great way to just get an idea of where you are in terms of your competitiveness. And so we want to finish and we want to pause the camera. Right now, I'm not going to publish this live because I have a live credit card in here, but we're just going to keep this here. Campaign is paused. So that's how you create a Google text ad. Simple enough, right? Simple enough. Okay, finally, we're going to talk about setting up a Google shopping campaign. So whenever you start a Google shopping campaign, you must always make sure you identify the campaign objective. If you're a retailer, that's pretty easy. You just want to sell more stuff. But make sure you identify what it is you want to sell. The particular hot items, for instance, like that you want to sell more of than others, or the ones you believe will be winners. Make sure you are having a clear campaign objective so that at the end of the campaign, if you didn't meet those campaign objectives, then you might not want to advertise that one product, or you might not want to advertise on Google Shopping altogether. Make sure you upload your feed. Okay, well, that's simple enough. If you don't upload your feed, Google's not going to allow you to promote your product catalog. But what I meant by upload feed is sometimes when you submit a feed to Google Shopping, Google doesn't approve all of the products because they could be missing attributes. By attributes, we mean the characteristics of the products, like the SKU numbers, which is required, the MPN, the GTIN, these are product identifiers, the color, the titles, cannot be acceptable. So this is all outlined in Google's terms of service for Google Shopping. So make sure that there are no errors that are presented in your feed before you upload that, when you upload that feed. And make sure that you're handling errors before you push play on that campaign to go live. You want to make sure you have the best feed, and you also want to make sure your feed is optimized. And we'll talk about what feed optimization means when we set up a live campaign. So you also want to make sure you understand the basics of Google Merchant Center dashboard. For the most part, it was made to be very simple, so it is pretty self-explanatory. Just know what all the different tabs do, like I had explained in the previous video, and that's pretty simple to know. And also make sure, especially if you're, especially if you have any catalog, even if you have 2 or 3 products, make sure you're always linking Google Analytics to your Google Shopping campaign account. And I'll again show you how to do that in this live campaign setup. Okay, so the first thing you want to do before you create a Google Shopping campaign in AdWords is to log into your Merchant Center account. So all we have to do is go merchants.google.com, type that in your domain. If you haven't already, save it as a bookmark. That's how you get to it directly. And as you'll see, you're here in the Google Merchant Center administrative dashboard. What this dashboard does essentially is it communicates via the Google Merchant Center via API to your AdWords account. So when you want to create a Google Shopping campaign in your AdWords account, like we're about to do, it will be able to communicate with this dashboard here, with the functions here, and also with the feed. It'll know the products that were uploaded, and it will allow you to promote those products. So if you haven't done so already, the second thing you must do after you log in is click on this little vertical menu button here and link your AdWords account to make all of that possible. So you want to click on this button here and click on account linking. Now, as you can see, I already linked an account here for AdWords, so you just want to click on this account, this button, link AdWords account. So you have to enter in your AdWords customer ID as it appears at the top of every page in AdWords. So to do that, you would simply log into AdWords, adwords.google.com, and this would be your customer ID at the top here. Okay? And you would put that in. Since this is already done, we won't do that. Okay. And so once that is finished, we will now begin and we will now create a Google shopping campaign, because now Google has linked this Google Merchant Center with your AdWords campaign management, with your AdWords campaign, with your AdWords account, rather. Before you create an AdWords campaign for Google Shopping, always make sure that your product diagnostics is up to date. So this should all be green, and Google will tell you how many products are active. So if you're uploading 1,000 products and only 5 are active, you need to read the errors that are in the feed and get your, if some people use a feed optimization specialist, there are people who actually specialize in this, uploading feeds, correcting errors with data feeds for product feeds. It's a whole industry. So if you have somebody you use, make sure that you are making them aware of these errors, or they can find these things out themselves and fix them. Always make sure your account health is good and that your feeds are good. So this diagnostic machine is very important. Also, we talked about feed optimization. So what is meant by that? So if you actually go and you list off the products, when somebody types in sunglasses, let's say this is for sunglasses, let's say, right? They're not going to type in AW03 or AW01. You have to make sure that your title matches at least the search query that the user is going to put in. Google uses the title of the product and the description of the product, which is uploaded to Google Shopping, to match that user search query. That's the function. That's what Google does. And that's the whole point of the search engine. So what do I mean by this? Let me illustrate. So when you go to, let's say, bicycle helmet, we'll use this, and you go to Google Shopping, if you noticed, I put in the query bicycle and helmet, some version of that has to be in your title and in your description. So make sure that's basically the gist of feed optimization. You have to make sure that, for instance, I know this is right here, these right here are sunglasses. So this should read something like the kaleidoscope sunglasses, or sunglasses has to be somewhere in the product description, okay, before it is uploaded to Google. That is important. Okay, so here we are. We have a dummy account set up here. So we're going to take a look at now going through an actual setting up a live Google Shopping campaign. So the first thing you want to do, usually Google will leave you, when you re-sign into AdWords, will leave you wherever you last left off. So we just want to make sure the campaigns tab is selected here, and then we click on this button. Plus means for a new campaign, so we click on this button, and Google will now produce this vertical menu, and you just want to select shopping. So click on shopping. So name your campaign. So it can be whatever you want. Just for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll put sunglasses. And make sure that the shopping campaign type is selected to shopping. You don't want to load settings from an existing campaign. If you have an existing shopping campaign with similar presets, then by all means you can select that. But this is a walkthrough on how to set up a campaign. So this is assuming you don't have other existing campaigns. So keep in mind that with Google Shopping, Google, you're not allowed to bid on keywords with Google Shopping. So what Google is going to do is they're going to take the title of the product in your Google Merchant Center feed and the description of the product and match that with the user's search query. So unlike a search ads where you can bid on keywords, you can't do that with Google Shopping. There's no way for this. The Google hasn't allowed or hasn't created a feature like that. So this is how it's always been. So I don't believe they're ever going to change that. But just also keep that in mind. This is why it's important that when you are creating your product feeds, to make sure that, let's say you have the brand name of the product. So let's say it's a dog collar and it's an Ohio State University dog collar. That's exactly how you would have to put that in your feed, because you want people who are searching for, let's say, OSU dog collar. Google's going to know. Google is going to match that query with the product title you have and then the description. Or Ohio State. People are going to be searching, like if they want a specific type of item, those keywords have to be represented in the product feed in order for Google to pull up the ad. So that's, in a nutshell, basically like what I talked about before, is feed optimization. Make sure your feed is optimized for search and how the user would search. And you can do that at the feed level. You don't have to change the actual product or the title of the product because you have the feed and then you actually have your the name of the product. But just make sure your feed says something like sunglasses in this particular case where we're marketing for sunglasses, and that's you're making that clear in the title and in the description. So because we already linked the Google Merchant Center account, as you can see, we have a Google Merchant Center identifier. So Google is basically telling you they know which feed and which feed ID that you want to promote, the products you want to promote in that feed. The country of sale, basically your country origin, so where you do business as a merchant. So in this case specifically, it's the United States. You can choose your country. Now, these are some advanced settings for campaign priorities. Some advanced marketers like to run multiple shopping campaign campaigns within their AdWords. So this is only if you have multiple feeds, you want to promote multiple products in the feeds. So you would just say, in this case, if this was one of 3 feeds you're promoting, what the priority you want of this feed to be. Okay, so this is an advanced option. And you can also create custom filters. So if you want your category matching categories to certain categories in the feed, if you have a large feed to be in a specific category, you can vouch for that here. But this is an advanced feature. It's not something you should really know right now. And this is also if you want to enable local inventory ads shown to a specific locale. So this shopping settings, this advanced settings we won't use. As time goes on, you will definitely know, especially if you have a very large inventory, you'll know how to use this feature. You should become familiar with that. But for right now, that's not necessary. Devices, ads will show on all eligible devices by default. So that means mobile devices, tablets, phablets, any kind of laptop, desktop computer. So we talked about mobile responsiveness. Always make sure that your website is mobile responsive. So locations, this is pretty straightforward. Where do you want the ads to show? Do you want them to show in the United States and Canada, the United States, or you can choose, like we've done before in both the search and display campaign. You can choose whatever area you want to show your ads to people in a specific area. So this is another advanced feature, location option. Location options. Basically, it expands the functionality of the location feature here. We won't get into that. Okay, so bid strategy. Whenever you're starting out, you always want to make sure you do manual CPC. Now, some people would rather use, some advanced marketers would rather prefer automated bid strategies because they have had success with Google managing their campaigns. But this is essentially what that does. Google will manage the campaign and they'll optimize the campaign. So some advanced marketers will spend will test between automated campaigns and manual campaigns, and they do this just to see where they're going to get a higher return rate, and then go from there. So, right now, when you start out, you always want to make sure you're in control of your cost per click, especially if you have a tight budget, because Google can exhaust your budget. Given how powerful they are, they can exhaust a $10,000 budget in just a few hours. That's not hard for Google to do. So just make sure you're in control of your cost per clicks and your budget. With that being said, I always go with $1. And the reason why I do this is because if I'm not competitive and Google comes back to me and tells me that my ad is eligible but it's receiving less impressions, it'll tell me where to adjust the bid, when to adjust the bid. So $1 is usually good. Remember, sunglasses, you can do keyword research with Google Shopping, but it's not as accurate as just getting the information from a live campaign. And the reason is because you cannot bid on keywords with the shopping campaign. So if your bid is too low, Google will let you know once you run the campaign. And that's always the best way to do it. That's really the only way you can do it. Okay. So you want to put your budget at whatever your budget is. If it's $10 a day, just put $10 a day. For the sake of this demonstration, I'll put $10 a day. I never go that low, but $10 a day. Everybody has a budget, so we'll put 10 right for now. This is another advanced feature. I would recommend, as Google recommends, you go standard. This is how you want Google to deliver your ads. Some people want accelerated because they just want answers quickly. So, as Google says, this will cause your budget to run out early, but it's better. Optimize the delivery of the ad spending your budget evenly over time. Okay, so you always want to make sure this is selected. It's pre-selected by default, but just leave that. And so if you want to start your campaign today, Google will start the campaign today. If you want to schedule when you want it to start, then by all means select this tab. We'll leave it. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll move this out to the 16th. And then for an end date, I'll put February 16th. We're going to delete the ad anyway. Campaign URL options. This is if you have custom tracking templates you want to use, apart from Google Analytics, and also the custom parameters you want to use. These are advanced features. No need to do that. So save and continue. And so we'll call this ad group all products. You can call it whatever you want. Essentially, it is all the products. So I'll leave it there. And so here you can just leave this pre-selected, start with one product group with a single bid for all products. If you want to create one ad group and multiple product groups based on your product attributes, you can do that as well. But you would have to go and separate these out. Pretty self-explanatory. We'll start with one product group with a single bid for all products. And so you want to hit save and continue. And so there you have it. So Google is going to bring you to your campaign now. As you can see, all the products are here. To examine the product feed yourself, you can just click on this little button here and view the full list of products. So as time goes on, as you can see, the products are identified according to the feed attributes here. So you have the item ID, title, brand, price, and the condition. So as you can see, you have the product groups here. So in this case, all products, the products themselves, you don't need to worry about this. The ads haven't rotated, so this won't be populated yet. We have the actual shopping ads here. Now, we talked about keywords. You're only allowed to put in negative keywords for shopping campaigns. So a negative keyword is if you sell Nike shoes, you would put, and you don't want, and you sell, let's say a broad term, somebody types in the search engine Nike shoes, and you sell Nike shoes that are blue, like one of a kind blue. So you want to, if you want to prevent your ad from coming up when somebody searches in a general term like Nike shoes, you can just put in that negative keyword here. That's the one thing Google will allow. But actual keywords, they won't allow you to add actual broad matched keywords. Broad matched keyword is any keyword you would put into Google. You have your audiences. Google will break down where the clicks are happening. And you have your dimensions. So this is a tab. We won't go over this, but basically it tells you how many clicks, impressions, click-through rates, your average cost per click, your average cost, your average position. So your first page, second page, 1, 2, 3, conversions, cost over conversions, cost over conversion rate, all conversions, and the view through conversions. So once your ad is running, all of this will populate, and it's pretty self-explanatory. These metrics here are pretty self-explanatory. They tell you how well your campaign is doing. You can also do that at the product level. It's not as advanced as the dimensions tab, but your benchmark click-through rate is going to tell you what other people are paying in your segment, in your category per click. So if this figure is, let's say we have 1 here. If this figure is 125, then you're going to have to increase your bid to 125, so on and so forth. Sorry, benchmark CPC, cost per click. So that's the figure once a campaign is running, you always want to make sure you look at. So this is a general overview. It can get advanced, you know, and it can become overwhelming in the beginning, but once you start getting data back, you will know over time how to react to it. But this was just a general overview of how to set up a shopping campaign. So in the next video, we'll talk about how to actually set up retargeting for your shopping campaign, which is just as important as the shopping campaign itself. Okay, so we're going to end with how to set up a Google Shopping remarketing campaign. Now, as a merchant, the success of your Google Shopping campaign can be largely attributed to your remarketing campaign. And why? Well, 90% of people who land on a page, even if it's warm traffic, warm qualified traffic, don't convert on the first site visit. People are distracted today, especially on their mobile phones, with text messages, with Facebook notifications, Twitter notifications, Instagram notifications. So sometimes the intent is to buy, but they get distracted. So this is why remarketing is extremely effective, because it keeps your ad in front of them until they convert. And Google obviously will know if they didn't convert. So it is important that whenever you set up a Google Shopping campaign, that you also set up a Google remarketing campaign. So we're going to be using the dynamic ads feature, which is found in the display network. And basically what dynamic ads are is when people click on a specific item. So it could be, let's say, a red shirt, and you sell red, blue, and green shirts, and they click on a red shirt. Well, Google will show them the ads of that red shirt along with the price, tax information, and shipping information, the title of the product, and maybe like a call to action where they can add it to the cart right there. So this is why it's called a dynamic ad, because Google knows what specific item they clicked on in dynamic fashion. So with that kind of dynamism. So we're going to click on this campaign button here. And as you're going to see, this vertical drop-down menu will now appear, and you're going to want to click on the display network. Remarketing is a function in Google Adwords. Remarketing is a function of the Google Display Network. So the first thing that's going to jump out to you is these marketing objectives. And when you first start out, this can be a bit overwhelming, but simply, Google has 3 different types of display ads. You have an awareness campaign where people, let's say if you're like a big brand like Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Nike, and you just want people to be aware of the brand, then you would select this ad. If you want influence, you just want people to engage with your content. Let's say you have a blog attached to your store, or you just want people to engage with the content or engage with things on your website, particular sections of your website, then this is where you would do influence consideration. And then you also have, well, the one commonality between these 2 options, they're both automated and managed by Google. So the 2 things that are common with them is conversions are secondary with these 2 automated advertising features here. Okay, so then you also have the drive action, which is similar to the Facebook conversion. Obviously, Google had this first, but if you want Google to focus within the display network on users they think are going to buy on your website, you can aim for that. If you want people to take an action on your website, you can aim for that. Call your business, visit your business if you have a physical location, engage with your mobile app. So these are all preset automated functions. So basically Google, and by Google I mean Google's algorithms, will be managing this display network campaign to target specific people they think might fall into one of these 3 categories. Now, the problem with this is if you have deep pockets and you have a pretty big advertising budget, by all means, this is when you would split test between something like this and like just regular search ads and a search ads and display campaign. Okay, so if you wanted to split test between your own work and automated work, by all means, keep this marketing objectives tab or selection selected. But when you're first starting out, I don't recommend it. And you just want to put no marketing objective. You want to set the objective, because this way you can control your budget. Not everybody has $10,000 a month when they start out to advertise. So now that this is selected, we want to make sure all features are selected. So we're not advertising for mobile ads or anything like that, or for mobile apps rather. So you just want to make sure all features are selected and all the features and options available for the display network. So basically everything that's under the hood, features, placements in the display network, Google partners, what we talked about in the display section of this presentation, display AdWords, display network section of this presentation. So existing campaigns, we don't want to have these presets selected, so we can just leave that. We already discussed what that is. And the campaign name. So I always, for the sake of organization, when I'm managing campaigns for clients, I always like to make sure that this is a dynamic retargeting, that this is labeled as dynamic retargeting, because if I'm not doing that, Google is going to categorize this as a display network ad, and if you're running several display network ads, well, you won't know which one is retargeting, remarketing versus just a regular display ad. So again, retargeting, remarketing is a function of the display ad. So you want to make sure you're clear on that when you're labeling this. So I usually just put dynamic retargeting and then the name of the business. So that's what I would recommend. Now, you can target, we're on location now, so you can target whatever location you want to target. So if it's the United States, enter the United States. Google will only show these dynamic retargeting ads to the countries in which they're available. So you can also choose all countries and territories if you'd like. So you go English, whatever language you would like to select, you can edit that here. For now, we'll choose English. So you want to set your budget here in budget. And this is going to be the most important thing here, your bid strategy. You want to make sure manual CPC is enabled. Now, you might be asking, what is enabled enhanced CPC? Basically, what AdWords will do, AdWords, the algorithm that shows your, gives your ad impressions in the vast Google display network. What it's going to do is, again, this is on a bid auction system. AdWords, like we mentioned in the previous presentation, is set up on a bid auction system. So Google will give the most impressions to whoever bids the highest. So if your competitor is bidding $1 per click, let's say, hypothetically speaking, usually it's lower in the display network. We're talking cost per impressions, cost per clicks around 46 cents, 56 cents on average. So if you enable this feature, Google, if you're being outbid by your competitor for rank, let's say they're bidding 56 cents, Google will enhance your cost per click to 57 cents so that you get the click. Okay, so your positioning is going to be better than theirs, and your reach is going to be better than theirs. It's going to be much wider, much longer than your competitors if you enable this feature here. I don't recommend this if you're starting out. And the reason why I don't recommend that is because you can exhaust your budget pretty quickly if you aim to maximize conversions with this feature enabled. So you want to make sure you have your campaigns running at least like 3 or 4 days to measure what the actual benchmark cost per click is. Now the benchmark cost per click is what the actual figures are, what people are paying, and adjust your bid accordingly manually when you first start out. So again, if you have deep pockets, enable this feature. If not, if you want to have full control, disable this feature. I've seen $10,000-$20,000 budgets exhausted in one day with this selected. So no wonder why Google pre-selects it. So make sure this is not selected. And yes, those budgets were exhausted, but there were also a lot of conversions. So this particular account didn't lose money. So I'm not saying this is going to drain you and you're not going to get a return on it. I'm just saying if you have a limited budget, make sure this is not selected. Now onto the delivery method. We'll leave this at standard. We want our ads shown evenly throughout the course of the day and for the life of the ad and for the life of the campaign. Ad extensions with a dynamic retargeting ad, we don't need to have extensions. Some people like to have that, depending on the product. If it's a lawnmower that's being sold at Home Depot, you might want to extend that with the location of the store and where people can call on a price. That's a high priced item, so people can call right from the ad to see if it's still available, things of that nature. But for this case specifically, this is not needed. Now, we want to set a start date for the ad sometime in the future. This is just a demonstration ad, and we want to end it sometime in the future. You never want to have, when you first start out, especially when you're learning AdWords, you never want this to be ongoing because you want to measure your Google ad performance month to month to see if it's a good fit for your business. Usually Google AdWords is a fit for every business, but for some businesses they don't perform well using this type of platform. So this is just from my experience, 10 years. We want to leave this ad delivery, ad rotation. We don't want to touch any of this here. We just leave the preset configuration. We want to make sure that for devices that it's desktop computers, laptops, mobile, and tablet inventory. When it says all computers, Google really means laptops and desktop computers. Still a great majority of people use those things when they're looking for products, so you just want to make sure all devices are selected. Campaign URL options, this is for advanced tracking. You don't really need to do any of that. This is very important. Dynamic ads. So we discussed what dynamic ads mean. So you just want to make sure that this is selected, and you give a business type, retail, okay? And then you want to select the feed. So what do we just do here? So now we told Google that we want to make sure that when we set up a dynamic ad, that Google knows that it's coming from this feed from the Google Merchant Center. Because remember, we already linked our AdWords to our Google Merchant Center, our Google Merchant Center feed to our AdWords account. So Google already knows. It pre-populates this because it knows this is the feed we're talking about. So now, when somebody clicks on an individual product, Google will show them that individual product when they go onto their favorite websites. So they'll see that specific product. And if they clicked on multiple products while they were there, then Google will show them those multiple products. So if they clicked on a shirt, some shoes, and a handbag, Google will show them that in that ad. Location options, you don't need to do this unless you want to specifically target people in a specific location and people you don't want to exclude, people you want excluded from the ad. So hit save and continue. And so now we will be brought to this page. So we want to name our ad group. So we'll just name this display retargeting, and then maybe youthly sunglasses. Okay, now this is important. So now, since we are doing manual bidding, we want to make sure that we at least start off with $1. Now, this is already going to put you in a great position because most display ads have an average click-through of between a cost per click rather between 46 cents and 56 cents, around that area, on average across all segments. So $1, I always put it at $1 to see what Google is going to, what the actual cost per click is going to be for Google. Google doesn't actually charge you $1 per click. They charge you, if you win the auction, they'll tell you what that winning cost per click was. In other words, the benchmark cost per click over a period of time, what the average person was paying for that click in addition to your click. So usually it's around that 46 to 56 cents range. So we'll put the max cost per click at $1 just to let it run. And then once we get back the data, we can adjust the bid accordingly. So if we're paying on average 46 cents, we can change the max cost per click. So that's a separate tutorial that gets into, there's software out there that actually will adjust this for you so you don't have to. But when you're first starting out, you'll have to do these things manually to save money. Okay, so now here we are. Choose how to target your ads. So we set up a display campaign. Remember, this is a remarketing campaign. So we want to use interests and remarketing. So we want to market to our own list. So I'm going to hit interest and remarketing. And then we're going to make sure we go to product viewers, people who actually viewed the product, general visitors, and shopping cart abandoners. Okay. So this is Google's own, this is your own remarketing list that you're generating from Google. So as you can see, it says 0 to 1,000 impressions because there's been no traffic. We're just setting up a campaign. There's been no traffic to the site from AdWords. So this is how we would do that. Okay. So you don't want to target past buyers unless you have like a special sale going on. So this is going to dynamically show people those ads. Now, as you can see, Google got a little sneaky here, and they said show similar audiences. I would actually leave this selected. It's very similar if you're coming from the Facebook ads world. It's very similar to the lookalike audiences. So Google, in its vast amount of partners in that sea of users within the partner network, is going to be showing these ads in addition to the retargeting ads of the list that you created here to audiences that are similar to this. So people who are more than likely to take an action on the site. How Google does it, they keep it a secret, but so does Facebook. But basically, with user data, you have the behavioral information on there. So Google will know if they were on other sites like Amazon purchasing items like this. So it's a lot of data they collect. So they'll know. Conservative targeting at the target optimization level. Well, let's back up a little bit. You can narrow your targeting further. You can leave this alone. This is only if you wanted to get super specific about where you wanted your ads placed. And you can leave this at, now back to targeting optimization. You can leave this at conservative targeting, finding additional customers at your current cost per customer. You don't want to go aggressive as of yet. So you want AdWords to automatically actually find new customers for you. Leave that selected. Okay. So we want to save and we want to continue. Now, this gets to the part where you can upload ads. So as you can see, it's going to take whatever's in your feed, and it's going to show the title name, and it's going to show the price of the item. So we won't go through this, but you can put in your short headline, your long headline. So your short headline is going to be for the responsive ad right here. Your long headline and then your description are going to go in here. Your business name is going to go in here. Your final URL where people will actually end up for this responsive ad. So this is for the responsive ad. That's the template for the responsive ad. But when somebody clicks on this actual ad here, they'll be taken to the product display page for this particular item. So Google is going to tell you that a retail feed is already attached to the campaign, so we don't need to worry about that. And we will go ahead and save this ad. Obviously, it's going to tell me I can't save the ad, but that is essentially how you create a dynamic retargeting ad. Okay, and so the last thing you want to do is, once you have your remarketing, just your display network, dynamic ads set up, retargeting ads, remarketing ads set up, you need to associate them to ad groups. So what we need to do is select anything that says retail. Remember, we created these parameters when we created the retargeting ad. So you just click on all the retail options here, and then you associate them to ad groups. So in this case, it's the dynamic retargeting easily. And you just select that. And that's retargeting in a nutshell. Now, you should have a remarketing tag that you get from all of this. So that is another tutorial, but in the future, it's very easy just to generate your tag details. So I will detail this in a future tutorial at some point in the future, but you have to make sure that your retargeting ad, which is right here, is set up on your website so Google can track the user behaviors. Google also has, and I'll mention this in the resources, an integration team that can help you set up the actual tag on your website. It's saying it hasn't detected it. That's because the tag is not on there, because this is a dummy account here, just for the purposes of demonstration. Thank you very much. Okay, so this will conclude the presentation. I just wanted to make you aware of some resources available to you as a Google advertiser, Google AdWords advertiser. You have the Google AdWords customer support phone number, and that's this number here, 855-607-0431. And Google is available Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You also have, if you're looking for a graphic designer who will design display banner ads for you, check on Upwork and also check on Freelancer. I co-founded a web development agency called Primus Web Studio. We also specialize in designing AdWords display banners and also display banners for Facebook and Yahoo, Gemini, and Bing. If you want to learn Google AdWords for free, Google has an incredible academy, and people often don't take advantage of this, but Google has an actual academy for ads. You can get certified at the end of your learning course, or they call it the track, learning track. You can become an officially certified AdWords manager after you take the exam, after you go through your course. So this will also help you learn the basics of Google advertising, because all you need to know is the basics to expand on your expertise, because there is such thing as a beginner and advanced, but that usually has to do more with strategy. So you'll eventually get it. This is not hard at all. Thank you. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for watching the presentation, and have a good day.